Hello and welcome back to Stay the Program's second week of my Road to 1800. I'm kicking off this second week with a two-man queue where I hopped in with Red Deck Wins, the pretty close to the same version I was running last week, some slight changes in the sideboard, which we'll see between games 1 and 2. Start off living the dream with a first turn Goblin Guide and have a second turn Goblin Guide, which is pretty much one of my favorite starts in the deck. Only thing I like a little bit better is if I have a two Goblin Guide and Teetering Peak's hand. It ends up to be just a ridiculous amount of burn and damage right off the bat. So now I'm looking at 8 damage in hand and getting him down to, if he doesn't block, looking at 14 damage at the end of turn 2. We're down to 14 life at the end of turn 2, 6 damage total. At this point, I'm liking what I'm looking at. My first thought when I saw him, the Cunning Spark Mage on the first turn, I thought perhaps Koros, which is a deck that I don't like to play against with Red Deck Wins. I see him go, Birds, Lotus Cobra, which automatically makes me think that it's a Naya build, obviously. So he drops out another Reliquary, some Lotus Cobra, some decent beef. It's going to become a race now, so I hope that he blocks with the Knight, but my guess is that he won't, so go ahead and swing in to see what he does. He throws a Lotus Cobra in front. Not too much of a surprise there. Kill the Cobra, get a couple more damage in, get him down to 11 by the end of turn 3. It's pretty good. Now I'm looking at burn and how to get ahead at this point. He untaps first turn, drops out a Vengevine, which is bad for me. Although he just swings with the Vengevine because he wants to probably get the Knight out of burn range. At this point, he's pretty much out of burn range. I can't really do much to him, so I need to race him at this point. And I'm not too worried yet. I'm going to take some damage here. I'm not really all that concerned, being as I have 8, 10 in hand. I now have 6 left, but assuming I can get some more burn or another land, I can kick my Burst Lightning, which is usually going to be good enough. So I go ahead and play for the inevitable. Try to keep an eye on what he's doing, and leave my Goblin Guy back to block, being as he's obviously not going to get through for any type of real damage. I don't really want to throw a Goblin Guide away that I can at least block a Vengevine with, or possibly a gigantic Knight of the Reliquary if he comes after me this turn. So he drops another Cobra, drops a land. It's pretty much going for the next turn win. So at this point, I have to either draw a burn spell or a land or a sack land. Any type of non-tapped land or a burn spell will win me on my turn. So I go ahead and throw my Goblin Guide under the bus and hope to draw what I need to draw. Throw the rebound at his head and need one of many of my outs in the deck, so I'm not feeling too bad here. And I get the mountain because I played, and this is kind of a key point in playing for the win. I played my Stagger Shocks in the order I did just because I knew that I could win if I drew out a certain card. So I played for that. If I draw it, I drew it. Life went on, and I was very, very happy. Now I know I'm going second, so my Goblin Guides get a lot worse when I'm on the draw. I don't have quite that aggro. I know, like Earthquakes, since I know he's playing weenie creatures, he's probably going to bring in other things to possibly slow me down, so I really want to mess with his early turn mana acceleration if I can. I keep a decent hand. It has half of the Devastating Summons Goblin Bushwhacker combo. It's kind of a slow hand, but I keep it anyway. He starts out even slower, which is very, very good news for me. I draw the second half of the Goblin Bushwhacker Devastating Summons combo, and I like my possibility for this match. It's still a long ways from being done, though. His deck can get really aggressive. I know it has some life gain in it, so I've got to be kind of careful. I get a little lucky. He has no third turn play. So that was very happy for me. At this point, I could go for the summons Bushwhacker, pretty much leaving myself with no board position and just trying to swing in for enough damage. The problem with that is it would be 3/3s after this attack, which I don't think would be enough to get me there. So I go with the Dragon Lord, kind of try to optimize my Bushwhacker when I kick it. It sadly doesn't happen because it gets killed. He drops a Vengevine. Not good news for me, but not a whole lot I can do about that. But he's got 2 cards, so I'm not really too worried about the Vengevine triggering. I missed my land drop. If I got a land drop, I would have definitely went for the 4/4s. Sadly, I didn't get that, so I got to kind of try to play a little safer. So now I'm hoping for fetch lands for me. Pretty much any land that's not comes into play tapped is fine for me. I notice I say that a lot, so I'm starting to think that perhaps I just need to cut out those teetering peaks and go with straight mountains. I see a Stoneforge hit, which means he's getting his Basilisk Collar, which means he's going to gain like 4 life this turn since he can play it and equip it, which is not something I wanted to see here. So he sends it in. Obviously, I don't block, so I'm hoping to get, fetch land would be amazing, but I don't get the fetch land. Here I was thinking about playing out the Earthquake first, just to clear the board, but then on second thought I thought, well, I might as well see if I can get that 3 damage in. So I was going to tap out to do that, do the kick, do something, maybe go for a win here, but he's at 20, and even Devastating with a Bushwhacker is not going to get me there. Plus he'd have the life gain left next turn, so he'd fight back. I just didn't have the math to make that work this turn. So I see he's got 1 card in hand, so I'm going to go for just dropping off his creatures and hope he doesn't, beat me down like that. Unfortunately for me, he top decks another Vengevine, but doesn't have the mana to equip the collar, so we'll stay at 14. He'll come in and pretty much bring me to dead next turn, so I have to get kind of lucky here. And I get a Teetering Peaks, which means I win if he doesn't have the burn. I spent a little bit of time thinking about how I want to stack this up. Turns out either way it's about the same. If I play the Teetering Peaks with no target, I can sack 5, Bushwhacker kick, and summons in for 14, or if I tap the 4, sack 4, kick the Bushwhacker, throw down the peaks targeting the Bushwhacker. At least I have a red mana left open, although I'm pretty much going all in at this point. So I just go ahead and go for it. I think at this point he thinks he's got the win. If he has any burn whatsoever, I am done. However, I decide to go for it, and possibly go into game 3 if he gets it. He gives me the wow, which may or may not mean he can fight back. I just assume he can until I actually get the concession. I certainly don't want to, attempt to count my chickens before they hatch and just kind of give it the go and swing in. So he mentions that either way was the same. I didn't say that I was kind of possibly going for the next turn, but since he said the wow and conceded, I get the pack and I'm up a few points.